happy to be with you, my friends, today, and very happy to be with Max at KWM Gutterman. Now, what's really cool about this company is you are the largest manufacturer in the world of
gutter machines.
Gutter machines. Now, I've never had the incredible opportunity to talk gutter machines before, but we're going to. And before we get to that, we're actually standing in front of an Okuma machine with a retrofit MIDACO pallet change. And Max and I get to talk about what it was like before MIDACO showed up and what it's been like after MIDACO arrived and did the installation. So Max, let's talk about originally what it was like loading manually these machines every single day, all day.
Yeah, so it's good to have you here, and we're ready to talk about it. It's been just a whirlwind of changes on our part. When we first started, we had 4 chick vices in here, and we were manually loading, unloading, blowing out the vices, and you had downtime of say 1 to maybe 3 minutes of load times that you have a man standing there loading the machine, and the machine's waiting for it to run. And now we're running with a MIDACO Pallet Changer that you're loading outside of the machine. The cycle times are, getting quicker and getting faster, and we're demanding more. So the problem is with our downtime of the machine sitting and waiting for those operators to load the machine, we needed something to do to kind of combat that. But we ended up getting these MIDACO Pallet Changers, and these pallet changers have been great. They're no more load times because essentially you're loading outside of the machine. The machine is no longer waiting for those operators to be ready, to get the parts ready. It's in and out in maybe 20 or 30 seconds, and you're right back to machining.
Yeah, I like that. And we actually have a couple of examples. Actually, we have lots of examples, but I'm going to utilize one that you told me. And we actually have our colleague over here physically doing what we're about to describe, right?
Yes,
we're talking
absolutely.
about a load time of maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute, right? We're talking about a blow-off time is a couple of seconds as well.
Yep.
But the cycle time of the part is only a minute to a minute and a half as well. So essentially, if we do the numbers in our head, if we try to crunch, if my gerbil is running on the hamster wheel effectively as I hope it is right now, we're talking about 50% of the time was load and unload, and 50% of the time is actual machine time. And with the addition of the MIDACO, you're now doubling your output in an 8-hour shift.
Absolutely. We've seen at least double in production because what we were getting was a lot of times if you had a 4 or 5 minute cycle, that maybe has 2 or 3 operations within that cycle. So now you're loading 2 parts flat, 2 parts stand up, and maybe 2 parts are flipping end for end. So the issue with that is you may be loading 2-3 minutes just standing there loading that part, and now your cycle time is only 4 minutes. You're there double the time to run that same job. And with the pallet changers, there is no more of that waiting. It's solely cycle time.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things about the MIDACO product is that true simplicity for the audience watching right now. We don't even want to overcomplicate it. It really is. We have an area where we can set up parts while the machine is running, and then that area switches, right?
Correct.
And another set comes out. Now, what's cool about this conversation, I think, Max, is that you had these Okuma machines ahead of time. It wasn't the plan originally to adapt the MIDACO. In fact, you did a little bit of research. What was the experience like through the research process and when they showed up with a saw to cut sheet metal on your expensive Okuma machine?
Yes, so that was a shocker. So going back to how it kind of started was, how do we increase production, be more efficient? How do we get our load times down? Well, the most simple way is if you had no operator. Well, you have to have an operator of some sort, so how do we eliminate their load times, or how do we bring those down? So what we did was kind of just hopped on the internet, did a little research, and MIDACO being in our backyard essentially, 40 minutes away, all their information popped up, and next thing you know, we're looking at videos, we're looking at reviews, and it was just, let's get a demo, let's check this out, this may be the way to go. Some months go by, and sure enough, we have one on order, we're bringing one in, and I remember their install technician comes in, and out of his bag of tools, he pulls a Sawzall. And mind you, there's nothing to cut on this pallet changer, just a hole in the side of our Okuma that was, mind you, maybe 2 years old. And it gives you a little fright seeing someone with a Sawzall ready to cut a hole in your new machine. And he starts going to town, cutting a hole in this machine. But I will say, he was a surgeon with that saw because it turned out great and the install went perfect. And now with our other 2 machines we have in here, it's just a norm. Oh, there's a Sawzall, time to get to work. So It's been a lot of fun.
I can only imagine the first thought when you see the saws all pop out and the noises from the shop and everything, right? At first it's got to be like, excuse me, what's happening? But by now, like you said, you have 3. And it's a norm, and I believe you're going to add some more in the future as well because it's working so well. Yes. So the segue for that, my friend, is you at one time also had a robot over here, right?
Yes, sir.
And so while there are places for robots, cobots, pallet change, bar feed, and pallet change like this as well, it's important that we all understand when and where they can best be applied to the benefit of the end user. You actually have utilized this in a more effective way than you were able to utilize that robot. Would you mind having a little bit of description of what those differences were for you and why this situation works better?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we did was we got into robotics solely to essentially run a third shift. We wanted to run lights out, unmanned. Essentially, you had an operator running 24/7, no vacations, no breaks, no coffee breaks, just working. Well, what ended up happening for us was most of our jobs that we can run automated, and as far as mills go, they're very short cycle times. So you may be dealing with a minute to a minute and a half cycle time on that part, that sole part. Now the load times, we were doing 2 pallets, so it would load a new part, unload, and then load a second new part. So it was doing 2 vices. Now with that is about a minute and a half of load time, sometimes 2 minutes, depending on what was happening. It was doubling our run times. So we were seeing a 2-minute cycle technically was now becoming 4 minutes. So if, let's say, that job was 8 hours, it was taking us 16. And when we were running before, if we were able to pump that job out, and let's say half the time of the robot could do it, maybe we were in, let's say, the 6-hour range, we were still losing so much time that for our application, it didn't quite work. Now, if we were, say, doing a lot of milling, a lot of, hard roughing work that was really time consuming or a lot of detail, absolutely, that thing would shine. When your cycle time is greater than your load time, 100%. But for us, we just need volume in production. So this was the option to go with.
And to be fair, you have automation in other parts of this building. You're running it on some of your turning centers. You have it in your fab department as well. So understanding where each can be adapted, I think, is important for the audience to understand as well. Max is incredibly smart when it comes to the process of understanding how we can do something more effectively and efficiently. The last thing I want to talk about is just the flexibility of the system itself, right? Because you can pop quick change vices on here if you want to. You're using soft jaw setups, put different soft jaws on, but you could even throw a trunnion in here if you wanted to. Based on what you're manufacturing, there is a ton of flexibility in the whole setup and overall, I guess, reset up for a new job when it comes in as well.
Yes.
Awesome, Max. Thank you so much for your time today. For everyone watching, this is KWM Gutterman. So much fun to say, Gutterman. So thank you all for watching. Hope you've learned as much as I have today, and we will see you all again soon.